10 years ago, Al Gore's film An Inconvenient Truth shed light on the global warming crisis. Now, the follow-up film is in South Florida theaters. An Inconvenient sequel, Truth to Power, hits theaters this weekend.
Watch the water splash off the city. This is global warming.
I felt so scared.
We're seeing a tremendous amount of positive change. The basis is there, but it's still not enough.
The film addresses the progress made to tackle the problem of climate change and Mr. Gore's global efforts to persuade governmental leaders to invest in renewable energy, culminating in the landmark signing of 2016's Paris Climate Agreement. I spoke to the former vice president about his film and the climate-related dangers of living in South Florida. The movie really hits home, literally, for us down here. Yeah. In the film, you spend time in South Florida, you see the floodwaters. You also mention that Miami is the #1 city in the world most at risk for sea level rise. How much trouble are we in here in South Florida?
Well, the scientists have been warning for quite some time that global warming is accelerating the melting of glaciers and ice in Greenland and Antarctica, and that's unfortunately projected to produce much more sea level rise in the years ahead. But we still have the ability to control how fast that takes place and how far the sea level rises. And the good news is that a decade after the first movie, we now have the solutions to the climate crisis.
Yeah, you know, down here, it's just such an ongoing topic. People talk about how hot it is, record heat.
Yeah.
The summer's been brutal. And this, again, if we don't do something about it, it's only going to get warmer and warmer, correct?
Yeah, that's right. And it's not only the sea level rise, as serious as that is, it's also Zika and other tropical diseases that are spreading in part because of the transportation revolution, but the scientists have long warned us. And it's also attributed to the kind of event that you had here in Miami this past Tuesday, because the extra heat going into the oceans is putting a lot more water vapor in the air, and it's making these rainstorms way bigger than they used to be. And when you have 6 inches of rain in 2 hours, that's just kind of weird. And maybe it used to happen once in 1,000 years, but now that kind of thing is happening all over the world on a regular basis.
And in the film, it's also brought up that Florida is the sunshine state. So, right?
Yeah.
So with solar power and wind power, do you feel like there should be more, should we be migrating more towards that down here?
Absolutely. Florida has an amazing potential to get much cheaper electricity bills from getting the electricity from the sun instead of burning dirty fossil fuels and contributing to air pollution. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the fossil fuel companies and the coal burning and gas burning utilities have adopted the strategy of giving tons of money to politicians and using the support that they get to try to block solar energy and lock people in to the monopoly utility that uses this dirty, polluting fuel and keeps the electricity bills high.
And I'm so curious because I know how much this means to you. It's obvious in the film. It's obvious from following you for years. When you encounter that, when you see the opposition, you probably have good days and bad days, right? There's probably days where you just want to bang your head against the wall, but you keep going. You keep working towards this.
Well, it's too important not to keep going. And actually, I'm more hopeful today than I was a decade ago, because even though the carbon polluters have continued to try to fool people into thinking that it's not real, we're the only country in the world that goes through this, and even though these extreme events are more common, I'm really excited by the fact that solar energy has come down in price more rapidly than the mobile phones have, almost as much as what happened with computer chips. A new electric car is now on the market this week for half the cost it was just a year ago. And now we're seeing batteries that are plummeting in cost, which is going to completely revolutionize the energy sector. So I'm really excited, and so many people at the grassroots level are trying to help solve this, and that's why I want them to go see this movie. It'll tell them what they need to know and how they can help.
When the next sequel comes out in 10 years, what will it be about?
Well, I hope that 10 years from now we'll be able to look back and say we really solved this, we turned the corner, we've got a big bipartisan majority, and the carbon polluters aren't trying to pull the wool over people's eyes anymore, and that we're really well onward with the solutions. And by the way, solar jobs are now growing 17 times faster than other jobs in the economy. So I hope 10 years from now, we will have created tens of millions of new jobs solving this, and there won't be a need for another sequel.
Okay. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you. I really enjoyed the film, and everybody should see it.
Oh, thank you very much.